Our first guest was a dominant center at BYU. Scored 29 points, grabbed 17 rebounds in the Cougars' 2017 upset at number 1 Gonzaga. He's on the mend, expected to resume his professional career in the G League here in a week or so. Our pleasure to welcome Eric Mika to the Wise Guys. We've been planning this for some time, and tonight it has come to pass. Eric, thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm excited to be here.
And I know
Always
Eric,
a pleasure to see you guys.
If you were listening in, like the nice part about Eric is he can do both what Ollie does and what Foose does.
Yeah.
Which makes Eric.
There you go. I like to hear that.
Special, right? It makes Eric special because Eric can go down and play with his back to the basket, but he's athletic enough to come out and play with the ball in his hands and face up and do all that. That's why he's played professionally for so many years and why he's in the G League. It's nice to have somebody that can do both of those things. Eric's a guy that can do it both.
So what would you do, Eric, as you're trying to balance Khalifa and Traore in this scheme, and they're two very different centers?
Yeah, I mean, it's really, really hard. We actually kind of touched on that when you and I spoke last week with Jerem, Dave.
Yeah, on Sports Nation.
And a story that came to mind that I didn't share, but that just comes to mind again is when I got hurt. So I'm going to get I wouldn't know the dates, but it was against San Diego. So it was in conference, and I got pump faked by this shooter. I can't remember his name. He pump faked me in the corner, and I went sailing over him. And he kind of went up, so he could get the shot technically off and get his 3 free throws. And I came toppling over him, landed on my hip, and my leg went numb. My left leg went numb. So I remember I was out for probably 2 or 3 games, but it was very, very short period of time. And I came back. My first game back, I think, was against Santa Clara at Santa Clara. And that was like the first time, it was a real freshman moment. I had a lot of those that year. It was the first time that I had ever kind of lost my role, that quickly. That's how quickly the guys had to adjust. They had to move on. They had to say, okay, we don't have Eric. We can't rely on what, we relied on him previously for. And so guys need to step up. Guys need to play a little bit differently. And it was a real tough stretch for me trying to insert myself back into that rotation in an effective way and kind of get back to my game, get back to that groove that we had before the injury. So, I just want to preface it by saying it's not easy.
Right.
You're trying to win every single game. You want all your guys taken care of. You want everyone to look good. You want everyone to feel good and everyone to have an opportunity to, I would guess all these guys want to play at the next level, right? But at the end of the day, you're trying to win games as a team today, right? So they obviously did a really, really good job of that. They figured it out. They said, okay, we don't have Foose for X amount of time. I'm sure they were conservative in bringing him back so that he wouldn't re-injure himself. The Big stepped up in a big way, and the team figured it out. So I said this last week as well. It's a good problem to have. You want to have so many options that you're trying to fit them all in. And I think it's just going to take time. I think it's going to be matchups. I think Pope and his staff are going to have to look from a game-to-game standpoint. Okay, where do we need, like you guys were talking about, where do we need to generate a little bit more offense going inside out versus the other way around? Where are teams picking up and adjusting on how we play with Ali, and so they're picking on him for X, Y, and Z. Therefore, we need to generate something out of the post or create mismatches and draw those double teams. All those things. Like I said, at the end of the day, it's a good problem to have, and I think it's just going to take time. It's going to take time, and it's going to be a game-to-game basis.
Eric Mika is with us here on the Wise Guys. Let's get a health update on you. Let's start with that. What's your timetable for getting back with Ignite in the G League?
Hopefully just a couple weeks. I'm running on this machine called the Alter G that will let you run on 50% of your body weight, and so we started that a couple weeks ago, and we ramped it up to about 85%. So pretty close. I mean, I would hope that next week is close to 100%, and then it's just a response game from there. How does it respond to running 100%? Okay, now we can put some contact in there. How does the knee respond to that? Okay, let's go play full practice and on and so forth. So I think we're close. I think we're looking at a number of weeks, but I'm really excited. It's been a long season just sitting there on the sideline. It is not very fun when you don't get to contribute.
And you like working with us, but you much rather be playing, obviously.
Yes.
Ignite is based in Henderson, Nevada, that metro Las Vegas area. Dave's really familiar, was a sports anchor and a news anchor down there forever and ever. What's it like playing in the G League?
We had a game today. It finished like 2 hours ago. We played against the Stockton Kings, who are the affiliate with the Sacramento Kings. It's where I was for a season.
Right.
And they only had 9 guys, I think, today, because there's so much up and down of the two ways. You have assignment guys down. Who knows? Maybe someone was sick. Someone got cut. The G League is so unique in that you can have a roster of 8 or 9 guys that will come and kick your tail. But then I was looking, and that's what they did today. But then I was looking at their roster. All 9 of them have played NBA minutes, like a lot of NBA minutes. Some of them, 3 or 4 of them were rotation guys for different teams at different points. So you have current guys, you have guys that are on their way up, you have guys that have been there and then for a number of reasons are just trying to make their way back. So the G League is loaded with talent, absolutely loaded with talent. So it's been really cool to be part of that sort of journey for the G League, because I do think it was strong 3 or 4 seasons ago when I was there with Stockton, but it's gotten even better. I mean, exponentially better year after year. So it's a lot of fun. Night in and night out, you see some really good professionals. I think it's the second most talented league in the world.
Scott Mackey from Drummond, Montana. The Mackeys are on the Wise Guys tonight. Check it in as we continue our global live stream. We're with Eric Mika, former Cougar, YouTube, Facebook, Twitch, ysguys.com. Our weekly podcast available tomorrow. BYU beats UCF Saturday by 5. There are 15 more games to go in the Big 12 before the tournament. Starting with Iowa State tomorrow night, Tuesday, in Provo. Where do you think the Cougars go from here?
I think we get this. I mean, first and foremost, it's a tough league, and you have to just take it one day at a time. I get the speculation. I get people making predictions and constantly checking, kind of the pulse of the program and what people are saying about it. Like, I think it's awesome. I understand it. But I'm sure the team and I'm sure the staff collectively are just looking at it one game at a time, one day at a time. What can we do today to get better, to give us the best possibility for a good seed come March? Like, obviously their mind is on March and the big dance, but all they can do is focus on themselves, get better, and take it one day at a time. I think we go and get this win. I know Iowa State is another very, very good team, but we let that Cincinnati game slip at home, and I like the way that we've been responding to things all season. So I do see us responding, getting our first home win, and kind of getting this momentum back and going like we had it before the conference.
This is a team or a league that fans, they see them go dominate in the preseason, and then they think, well, now they should just go dominate in the Big 12. Expectations are this is a single digit seed. They're in the net. They're number 2. Were they number 1 for a time? Did they ever get to number 1? I can't remember, but. How do you function if you're a player on that team, if you're coaching staff on that team? You talked about, but there's so much outside noise about expectations and what everybody thinks they should do. How do you focus and keep that out of play and just grind as a player?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, I think maybe this is a little bit out of left field, but I think we're able to handle that, and we're built well for that because of how deep we are as a team. You have a lot of guys that on any given night can step up and have themselves a game. And that's important because it doesn't matter the age, in college, pro, high school, whatever the level, like that outside stuff, I don't care what anyone says, it gets to you. After so much of it and after all the attention that this team has been getting, I'm sure they feel the pressure sometimes. And that's normal. So I do think their depth is a saving grace in that aspect. They have a lot of guys that, maybe you are feeling the pressure. Maybe you are, off a little bit one night. It's okay. We have someone else that's going to step up to the plate. So that's a huge deal. And, like you said, grinding, to me, when I visualize the word grinding, I visualize kind of your head in the sand. I said, yes, you're going to hear some of those things. When there's so much of it, it's impossible to keep all of it out. But as long as you just keep your head down and keep working, then, the positives, the negatives, the ups, the downs, eventually they're just going to sound like white noise. And so as long as these guys trust in each other and their abilities to, help each other as teammates and that depth that I'm talking about, and that they focus on just getting better, right? Improving, because that's what the rest of the conference is doing. I can guarantee that, game to game, they're going to be improving. They're going to be, working on every little thing possible to gain an edge over this BYU team. And so as long as we have the attitude of, well, we're going to do that too, then we're going to be fine.
Eric, Mika's with us. You beat number 1 Gonzaga in 2017. So let me ask you, what was a better feeling? That night, winning that game on ESPN, or the night you won the national championship, the Max Preps title in 2013 with the Lone Peak Knights?
I want to lean towards the Gonzaga game, and not just because I'm on a BYU show.
Yeah, this isn't a Lone Peak show.
I just feel like I feel like the Lone Peak one was an amazing achievement. Looking back, especially, it's easy to kind of realize how big of a thing we accomplished, something that we had been working towards for a long time. But just something about the underdog aspect of the Gonzaga game, I think, kind of nudges it over the edge for me. Lone Peak, we walked into that state championship game, and we knew essentially destiny was kind of in our own hands, but we also knew that we were going to take care of business. I mean, I think we played Alta and we beat them by like 40 or something. So, very fun, but also in a certain way a little anticlimactic. But Gonzaga, you talk about the season they had. They were 29-0. We had kind of a lot of ups and downs. We were dealing with a lot of things internally. No one expected us to win. And then we start the game. We're down like 20-2 or 18-2 or something. So, I mean, we came out and we were playing scared and timid and right into their game plan. So I think being able to come back from that and just finally kind of put our foot down and say, no, we're a talented enough team. We can do this. And then go put together a game like that, I think, was one of the more special moments of my career, for sure.
That one got you on SportsCenter, but the Lone Peak thing got you on Good Morning America.
That's right.
So that's two very different outcomes.
That's true. That's true.
Hey, we're going to fast forward you now to February 2020. You make your NBA debut with the Sacramento Kings against the Lakers. You had 6 points. You had 7 boards in 19 minutes in that game. What did it feel like to finally be stepping out onto the floor, living your dream? I mean, you have been dreaming about that since you were a little kid, that you'd play in the NBA, and now you're out there and you're contributing. What was that like?
I mean, the actual moment where I got my name called was terrifying. I mean, there's no other word for it. I mean, all the prep, like you said, all the dreaming, the visualizing, the hoping, the praying, like so much had gone into this. And then it actually got to the moment, and I felt like I was going to collapse. Like it was just so terrifying to go out there. I think, it was just a whirlwind overall. That season I had been cut by the Kings. I was with the G League team playing really well. Then I went to China, got cut by the team in China, then came back, was with the Kings again, then got the call the day after a game. We had a game the night before, the G League did. We played the Memphis Hustle and got a call the next morning. I had no idea, who was hurt, because I had just moved felt like 10 times in the last 6 months. So, I wasn't religiously watching the Sacramento Kings and knew their schedule and their injury report list and things like that. So, I got the call that they needed me. And so I got down there. They were in the middle of shoot around, and Vlade Divac tells me, "Hey, thanks for coming in. We're excited to have you. We love you with this team," and blah blah blah, a bunch of whatever. And and then I look, they're in the middle of the shoot around, and so I talked to one of the assistant coaches, and I said, well, it looks like we have a game tonight. Who are we playing? And he's like, well, we're playing the Lakers. and it all just kind of – so that was like moment number one. I was like, oh, my gosh, I'm going to play against LeBron tonight. And then he proceeds to sit me down in the team kind of cafeteria area and show me film because I had missed most of shoot around because, they called me late. He sat me down and showed me film on Anthony Davis and LeBron. And he's telling me when AD catches it, we're going to do this. We're going to send him this way. When LeBron catches it, we're going to double in the post. We're going to do this. We're going to do that. He tends to do this. And I'm just sitting there like, there's no way I'm going to guard LeBron. And if I do, I'm not sending him left. Like, it doesn't matter. He's going to score on me, And so there was a real like realization of how deep I was in it at that point. And then, like I mentioned, when I actually got the call, because it was early into the first quarter, Coach Walton called me and my legs were shaking. Like it was a dream. I think someone on the front row said that they liked my hair, and I kind of laughed at that. But then I went out and the first play, the whole Lakers defense is yelling at me, talking trash, and telling AD to run an ISO for himself out of the sideline, out of bounds, because I'm guarding him. And I'm just like, come on, like, talk about being thrown in the fire. I'm guarding, Anthony Davis, and they're telling him to go at me from the jump, and so he did. He got the ball. He ISO'd me. He went right at me. My legs kind of gave out, but I turned it into a foul and just brought him down with me. And there's nothing like a good foul to kind of get you to settle into the game. And so that's what I did. And it was great from there. But those first couple of moments were exhilarating, to say the least.
I love that. I love you say that, Eric, because your quarterbacks always say, "Oh, you know what? Once I just get hit once, then I just start to play." And you're saying, "Hey, once I went out and just fouled somebody, and then I was good to go." Right? Just had to foul them. Then all the worries were gone. I love that.
That's one of the greatest stories I've ever heard.
That's awesome.
That's awesome. BYU star Eric Mika on the Wise Guys. He averaged 20 points and 9 rebounds during his final season with the Cougars in 2017 before leaving school early to go play basketball. By the way, Glenn from the Philippines joins us on our live stream tonight. So when we say global, Eric, we're not messing around.
Yeah, Eric, this podcast in Panama, in the Philippines, in Japan, and it's crazy where people listen into this live stream. It's fun.
It's a perfect setup for this next question.
Very cool.
Your career, and you mentioned it a moment ago, taking you and your wife Gabby all over the world. You've been on teams in Italy, France, Serbia, China, Germany, NBA, now the G League. When somebody like us asks you, what's the craziest thing that's ever happened to you on this basketball journey, outside of that Lakers story, what do you tell them? I
don't know. You got me, man. There's too many things. I'll give you one that's a little bit different. This one's kind of fun. So when we were in Italy, so we played there my first year after BYU on a first division team. The next year I signed with another team in the same league that was better. They played in European competition. I had a really good rookie year, and so I got picked up by a better team. But I came into that season hurt, and I'm prefacing this with like the longest backstory ever. But
it's gonna be
I came
good.
in hurt, or recovering from a knee surgery, strangely enough. But so I eventually got basically parted ways. We'll say parted ways. It was mutual. So I parted ways, and mid-season ended up in Germany. With actually David Stockton, who I had played against,
at Gonzaga,
freshman year, so 2013. Yeah, while I was at Gonzaga, we were on the same team in Germany. And what was crazy was in Europe, high level basketball, sports, basically anywhere, you don't get many days off. If you get a day off, it's usually at least some treatment, at least some type of walkthrough or film. And the same goes for Europe. We didn't get many days off. You're going to get a couple days in November and February when there's national team breaks. But there was this weekend, I think it was like the German All-Star game or something. And so we got 2 days off, and our coach said, no, we got a day off, and our coach said, hey, I'm going to give you another one. So you guys get 2 days off. I mean, and we're like jumping for joy. And what's crazy was that was in February. of 2019. And that was the same weekend that the Rome temple got dedicated.
Oh.
And so, it was like so many things had to go right, and the timing had to be perfect.
And
so
people,
it's one of those stories where
people need to know you served in Italy, right?
Yes.
You served your mission in Italy, and you're
served
fluent in
Italy,
Italian. Yeah.
And my wife also served there as
yes.
well. So we both served there. We had lived there for the last year and a half. And then, something that we thought we'd love to go see. They talked about the dedication of the Rome Temple for 15 years before it actually happened.
Right.
Another thing that lined up was in my last area in Italy. I actually got really, really close, with a family that I'm still very close with today, who happens to be the main architect for the temple, for the project. So, if I don't know him as well as I do, if I don't get that day off, if, all these things don't line up. So I actually texted him. He got me a ticket. I don't know if you'd call it a ticket, but, they reserved us. Yeah, they reserved us 2 seats. And then this is where it gets crazy. This is where it's like, all right, this
was meant to be, right? This was meant to be.
It wasn't just handed to us, but we're going to the airport. I think it was the Munich airport. It was just like an hour and a half away from us. And so we're driving to the airport, and there's this huge crash. It's obviously cold in February. So there's snow. It's freezing. We can't just turn off our car. We're waiting in traffic for so long for this to clear up that we run out of gas.
Oh, no.
And yes. And so, oh my gosh. And then, of course, later on, we find out we're like a half a mile from this gas station. So we, maybe could have gotten out and just ran, but like we didn't know because our phones don't have great service over there. So we're just stuck on the side of the road. Luckily, someone from the team drove about 45 minutes to get us some gas. But at that point, we missed our flight. So we're scrambling. We're freaking out. We end up buying last-minute flights out of another airport. So we end up driving to another airport that was in another direction, Nuremberg Airport, that's a little bit smaller. And we got a flight that we barely made it in time for. To Amsterdam, we had a 12-hour layover. Get to and then take our second flight the next morning. So we stayed in a hotel. Get to Rome. I mean, we got off the plane into an Uber and to the temple about 15 minutes before they closed the doors. Like it was as close as you could get. And then, as if that wasn't already like a stressful enough 48 hours, I had to be back for the Monday or Tuesday morning practice, whenever it was. To be back in time, I had to take an overnight train from Rome back to Munich. So literally, the temple dedication ended. My wife stayed in Rome for a couple of days with some friends, and I left on a train that I slept on all night so that I could make it to practice next morning.
But here's the question, Eric: was it all worth it?
It was all worth it.
There we go.
It was very special to be a part of that right as it was happening, and see so many familiar faces, and knowing what that meant to people in Rome and all of Italy was very special. So what a crazy story, just because living in Europe is crazy as a foreigner, playing there is crazy, and then trying to travel and do all these things with the schedule that we had was even crazier. So just a good one.
Just for so Eric, last week I was in Rome and we went out to the temple, and
cool, very cool.
It is amazing. And the visitor center there, first of all, it's strikingly beautiful, but the visitor center there with the 12 apostles and the Christus statue in the center is breathtaking, isn't it? It's just amazing. Yeah. But when you start to tell the story, I'm just like, that's right. Eric and Gabby both served in Italy. To get to be there for the temple dedication is an amazing thing. So those things don't just happen.
No.
No.
Hey, Sean Olmstead is going to join us here in a couple minutes. We got one last question for you. Then Blaine's going to hit you up with 5 questions. We're on with Eric Mika.
Right.
In what ways have you experienced this influencing power of being a professional athlete, former BYU star, returned missionary for the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints on young people?
That I think is the biggest draw, or has become the biggest draw of Ignite. There's so many pros of being here. I love Henderson. I love being connected to the NBA. I love, how good the G League is, like I talked about earlier. I love the opportunity that it's giving me to show who I am as a player. But the number one reason I wanted to come back personally, for a second year, and we had plenty of options overseas. We had training camp offers, but I love being a part of these young men, their development, their lives, just being an example to them, helping them in their own personal journey and professional arc. It's been very special, and it's something that I've loved to do for a long, long time is being connected to, young men and women. Obviously, in this profession, it's with young men, and just hopefully rub off on them the way that some really, really special and amazing people rubbed off on me when I was younger. I was so lucky to have incredible parents, older siblings that looked after me, older siblings, friends, coaches, mentors, and still today. I mean, there's so many people who I owe so much to, that have positively impacted me when they didn't have to, and went out of their way to help me. And so I just want to be one of those people, give back to the next generation of athletes so that they can have what I didn't, or that they can experience the good that I did. And just, leave an even bigger impact. I just think it's all, it's all part of the same flow, and it's going to be exponential. Whoever helped the person that helped me, might have helped them just a little bit. Then I got helped a little bit more. Then, I'm just trying to help a little bit more to the next guy, and it's just going to snowball and hopefully make the world a better place, right? It's all about just the one drop in the ocean, I think, makes a big difference. And so I've absolutely loved that part of the role.
Well, you're doing it. We congratulate you. And we're proud of you. It's been fun to watch you develop. This whole interview is led up to the next 30 seconds. Are you ready?
Yeah, the 5 questions. You're not only, you can't even think about these. You just answer them. Just fire up. Now, Sean doesn't have to do it because he's been on the show before. He's done this. So we have his on record, but you're going on record now. Your favorite sports movie?
Remember the Titans.
That, you know what? I'm going to say in 2 years, that's the most popular.
It's good.
It's such a good movie. So Remember the Titans it is.
It's just classic.
It's so good. Your favorite singer or band?
Who I absolutely listen to the most. Right now I'm on a real country kick. I'm going to say Morgan Wallen.
Oh, yeah. Morgan Wallen's great. My wife is on a Chris Stapleton kick right now. So he's got very unique.
He's great too.
Yeah, your favorite breakfast cereal?
I knew this was coming, and so I was already thinking about it. I'm going to go with Cinnamon Toast Crunch.
All right.
That is also one of our most popular. Cinnamon Toast Crunch, very popular. Again today, my pregame meal was Cinnamon Life. So
that's nice.
Yeah, it's always good.
Also,
and doesn't
also
upset.
very solid.
Yeah, very solid choice. So your favorite BYU moment, and this doesn't have to be on the basketball floor. We talked about, but this could be anything that happened to you at BYU that's your favorite moment.
I'm going to go with getting into the big dance my freshman year, the selection Sunday at Coach Rose's house. I think I blacked out. I was just so excited. I was screaming so loud. So that was a good one.
That's awesome. I love it.
Number 5.
Yeah, this is the most important. Favorite piece of advice you've ever gotten from your wife, Gabby?
I feel like I need her, pump up speeches almost daily, and I can't think of, one particular thing, but, I just feel so lucky to have her. And I think anyone who has this in a partner is lucky. And that's being able to keep me high when I'm feeling low and keep me low when I'm feeling high. She has just so much perspective. She knows me so well personally that she knows exactly what I need to hear when I need to hear it. Oftentimes earlier than I even need to hear it. So, I couldn't give you just one line, but she's good, man. She's good.
Right.
She knows
I love
what
that.
she knows me to a T. She knows what I need to hear.
She's your personal hype squad, which everybody needs, right? So
yes,
Eric,
yes. But if my head's ever getting too big,
then she can bring you down.
She grounds me a little bit.
Keeps you level.
That's their job.
I love it.
They enjoy that part of the job
The perfect
too.
balance.
Yeah, they like that.
Enjoy
They
that.
like that.
Yes.
Hey, tell us about your podcast real quick. what it is and where folks can find it.
Yeah. You can find it anywhere you find your podcast. So Apple Podcasts, Spotify. It's called Now for Later. If you type that in or type in Eric Mika, honestly, you'd find the same thing. It's just kind of my own personal journey of figuring out what I'm going to do next. I don't have a lot of time. I don't have a lot of really energy and effort to displace into this. I can't be working 2 jobs as I prepare for life after basketball, but I can interview high-level people that are in all sorts of different cool projects. All of them are former athletes. Some finished in high school, some finished in college, and a lot of them played in pro for a long time. So some very cool names have come on the show, which has been a lot of fun. And it's just kind of helped me, figure out what's next and be willing to put myself out there, learn new things, fail at different things, and also have something outside of basketball now to sort of, have that work-life balance and develop my voice and figure out who I am and what I want. I think those are important things in life, and the podcast has helped me do it.
Hey, when you get LeBron on your show and you can talk to him about the night you took him to school in February of 2020.
Talk about AD and tell him how you hacked him and he didn't make a shot. So, and by the way, we just put up the link.
LeBron hasn't been returning my texts for a while, so I don't know if he'll be on the show.
We put up the link to Eric's podcast in the chat, so anybody that wants to check it out, go ahead and click on that link. It'll take you right to where Eric is, and you can check him out on his podcast.
Hey, we're proud of you. Keep healing. Let's get back on the floor here in a couple weeks, and we look forward to having you back on the show and back as a BYU TV basketball analyst anytime we can get you. Very talented guy. Thanks, Eric.
Thanks, Eric. Great to hear from you.
Thank you, guys. Great to see you guys.
Eric Mika, big center at BYU, took down #1 Gonzaga, healing up his knee, be back in the G League here, as you heard, in a couple of weeks. And what a great example of a BYU Cougar out in the world.